Johnny's in the basement mixing up the medicine. I'm on a pavement thinking about the government.
With so much discussion around Bob Dylan recently with like the movie, everything that's happening, I haven't seen that movie, by the way. I don't know if it's good. But the point is, I figured this would be a good time to talk about my favorite Bob Dylan album that I've heard, Bringing It All Back Home. It was the start of the famous Electric Trilogy, Bringing It All Back Home, Highway 61, Blonde on Blonde. I could go into the history and the influence and all that stuff, but that's not really what this channel is for, so instead I'm just going to talk about the songs. Starting with the first song on the album, Subterranean Homesick Blues. This is a great way to start the album because it's short, it's sweet, and it hits. It's like you're walking down the street of a crazy dream city, and there's some guy in a dirty tuxedo going crazy playing fast jazz on the piano, and then when you walk by, he gets up and socks you in the gut. That's the vibe this song has. Bob Dylan is just going off for like 2.5 minutes talking about the insanity of modern living, or an exaggerated version of modern living, and it's all very cool, you know, there's a sort of irony to it. Usually I'm a big hater of irony, but in this case it's just sort of a subtle coating, rather than the core of the song's very being. You know, he's talking about all the stuff you have to do to get by in this world that seems to be sort of hypocritical, like it's all set up in this way that's kind of confusing and wrong and not really the way it should be. He says, learn to dance, get dressed, get blessed, try to be a success, please her, please him, buy gifts, don't steal, don't lift, 20 years of school and then they put you on the day shift. So real. And I love the way the song ends because this fake life that you're kind of supposed to force yourself to live is immediately confronted and shattered by the reality of the actual world. Look out kid, they keep it all hid, better jump down a manhole, light yourself a candle, don't wear sandals, try to avoid the scandals, don't want to be a bum, you better chew gum, the pumps don't work cause the vandals took the handles. I can imagine somebody who's been living in this fake way trying to please everybody and to get by in society their whole life, and they're driving a rundown car and they pull up to this old gas station and all the pumps have been stolen by somebody. The person who stole the pumps is living more in reality than the person who pulled up to the gas station, is what they realize in that moment, and that's sort of like everything in their head just shatters and all of a sudden they're looking at the world from a whole new perspective. There are so many potential lyric highlights for this song, some of which I've already mentioned. I'm just going to throw them all up on screen here. You can judge for yourself which one you like the most. So overall, the song is energetic, interesting, really fun to listen to, and just a great way to start the album. Gold star. Okay, next we slow it down a little bit with the song She Belongs to Me, which is sort of a, I won't say a love song, but it's definitely written about a girl of some sort, metaphorically at least, where he seems to be describing this girl who just has absolute control over every guy she sees. She's like a cult leader. Every guy she sees, she just recruits them and they all follow her around. You will start out standing, proud to steal her anything she sees. She's a hypnotist collector, you are a walking antique. As in, she's literally going around collecting guys like pieces of jewelry. I like to imagine this girl walking around and there's just a huge band of guys following her, and she walks in front of a store and she's like, okay, I want that, that, and that, and go get it for me. And they all break in the window and storm the store to steal her everything she needs. That's the power that this girl has. Also, the line bow down to her on Sunday seems to imply that maybe this is some sort of metaphor for religion, or it could be talking about how when you're in love with someone, like all the people are in love with this girl, it really does feel like a religious experience. Also, the song title, which is not actually mentioned in the song, a surprisingly common occurrence on this album, is She Belongs to Me, which maybe implies what every single guy in the horde is thinking, like, okay, all these other guys are here, she belongs to me, I'm the one she really wants, I'm gonna follow her around to do anything, I'm the one who really obeys her the best, she belongs to me. It's like the hordes of guys who follow e-girls and stuff and they think that the e-girl is really in love with them and nobody else. Trust me guys, for real, I'm the one she really cares about, not those other 100 guys giving her money. The lyric highlight is going to be, she can take the dark out of the nighttime and paint the daytime black. So true. Okay, the next song is really interesting, Maggie's Farm. This song has a lot of potential meanings, political, spiritual, literal, but I'm only going to talk about my interpretation of it. This is not the only time Maggie is mentioned on this album. She also gets a brief shout out in Subterranean Homesick Blues. The way I see it, the elusive Maggie is sort of the arch nemesis of Bob Dylan. She is the opposite of everything that Bob Dylan is and how he wants the world to be. As we see in this song, Maggie and her family are strict, hypocritical, closed-minded, and ugly. They seem to represent a way of living that Bob Dylan and also me consider to be the wrong way. Maggie's Farm represents a sort of spiritual prison that you end up in without really realizing, where you're just serving other people and obeying their ideas and their morals and their values without even really thinking for yourself at all. And you have your own ideas that you want to get out there, but this framework that they've put you in is too tight and too strict, and you feel restricted, but you're not really sure what to do because you're trapped on this farm and you don't know any other way to be. And you realize something is wrong, but you don't know how to fix it. I wake up in the morning, fold my hands, and pray for rain. I got a head full of ideas and it's driving me insane. It's a shame the way she makes me scrub the floor. Maggie's family are all just as bad as her, and I think they represent the different negative aspects of this metaphorical spiritual prison and the people running it. Maggie's brother hands you a nickel, hands you a dime, he asks you with a grin if you're having a good time, but then he fines you every time you slam the door. The people who are upholding this system act nice on the outside, they're polite and friendly, but they don't tolerate even the slightest sign of rebellion or dissatisfaction. They're only going to play nice if you follow all their rules to a T, nothing more, nothing less. Maggie's pa puts his cigar out in your face just for kicks. His bedroom window is made out of bricks. The National Guard stands around the door. I think Maggie's pa represents, in this farm, the forced unappreciation of art and beauty by everyone working there and everyone running it. Maggie's pa, with his cigar, stomps all over people's dreams and ambitions, and his bedroom window is literally closed off with bricks. And of course, your bedroom window is where you get all your inspiration from. It's where the moon shines through in the night. If the moon and the stars and the night air aren't coming through, what do you have? What's more, the National Guard even stands around his door, although it's unclear whether this is to prevent people from getting in or to prevent him from getting out. But Maggie's ma is the worst of them all. She's the ringleader orchestrator of the entire operation. She talks to all the servants about man and God and law. Everybody says she's the brains behind Pa. She's 68, but she says she's 54. Now that last line, while cool, I think is also indicative of the entire system, which it's crumbling, it's getting older, but it doesn't want you to know that. The system, this mind jail, wants you to think that it's stronger than ever and that there's no chance you could ever escape, but really, it's already starting to fall. If you look around for even a second, you can realize that. She's 68, but she said she's 54. Also highlighting the fundamental dishonesty of this mind prison, where the people who run it can't even tell the truth about their own age because they're too ashamed because of the constraints that they set up. So if you're trapped working in Maggie's farm, slaving away to plant the seeds of the blood of the future generations, what can you do? Well, luckily, as the song points out, the answer is incredibly simple. All you have to do is stand up, repeat this mantra: I ain't gonna work on Maggie's farm no more. Turn around, walk away, and leave forever. That's all you have to do. It's that easy. Maggie and her family don't want you to know this, but you can get up and walk away from this spiritual prison at any time. And I recommend you get started as soon as possible. Gold star. Okay, the next one, Love Minus Zero / No Limit, is another fantastically written song. It seems to be about the perfect woman, or maybe it's just the perfect ideal of a woman that the writer is imagining in his head, and how different this perfect woman is from the crumbling world around her. She doesn't have to say she's faithful, but she's true, like ice, like fire. She doesn't go around talking about the moral standards that she always upholds, living by the artificial rules of man and nothing else. She's true and honest in a much more deep sense, like the ice and the fire, as in, this woman is sort of controlled by the wind and by divine forces like an element of nature, instead of an agent of man. And this makes her more spiritually true than everything else in the whole world. We get more verses in here highlighting just the bullshit that everyone's constantly getting up to. In the dime stores and bus stations, people talk of situations, read books, repeat quotations, draw conclusions on the wall. The cloak and dagger dangles, madams light the candles, in ceremonies of the horsemen, even the pawn must hold a grudge. That one kind of reminds me of that meme where it's like all the chess pieces killed because they went to war, but then the noble chess pieces are just eating dinner with each other. It's like when society is torn apart like this, even the lowest members have strong opinions on things that they don't know very much about. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is enlisted as an emotional warrior. Even the pawn must hold a grudge. And once again, we contrast that with the girl in this song. Statues made of matchstick crumble into one another. My love winks, she does not bother, she knows too much to argue or to judge. Even while these statues are made of matchsticks, which each matchstick is an ideal or pillar of society or a person in some way, everything is crumbling into each other because it was all built poorly and it's falling apart. Even then, his love is not going to look at these people and judge them like she's God or something. She just winks. She's pretty, she's nice, and she doesn't take life too seriously. The bridge at midnight trembles, the country doctor rambles, bankers' nieces seek perfection, expecting all the gifts that wise men bring. All these girls raised by these rich men, these bankers and lawyers and doctors, their vision of love is just, who can bring me the most stuff? They literally think of themselves like Jesus. They expect someone to bring them gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and that will be the man they choose. But meanwhile, the wind howls like a hammer, the night blows rainy. My love, she's like some raven at my window with a broken wing. She's not asking you for physical possessions, but she's outside your window right now. She's broken, she's holy, and she wants to come in. I recommend you go and open that window for her, friend. Gold star. Okay, the next song, Outlaw Blues, isn't really a poetic masterpiece like the few songs before it. It's just kind of a banger with a good riff about, you know, the outlaw lifestyle. Even though I don't think this song is as great as the ones before it, it's pretty short, it doesn't drag on, so I have no real problem with it. Even this song has a few great lines on it, like, don't ask me nothing about nothing, I just might tell you the truth. At the end he says, I got a woman in Jackson, I ain't gonna say her name. She's a brown-skinned woman, but I love her just the same. Why wouldn't you love her just the same, Bob Dylan? Is there something you're not telling us? The next song, On the Road Again, is once again not one of the best songs on this album, but it is a little bit better than Outlaw Blues. Once again, we're talking about sort of a Maggie's Farm-esque situation of this really crazy house or estate that's like terrible to live in. But this time it's described from the outside, from the perspective of someone looking in. And whenever they try to enter the house and live there, all this bad stuff happens and they leave again. I go to pet your monkey, I get a face full of claws. Your daddy walks in wearing a Napoleon Bonaparte mask. Even the mailman, he's got to take a side. Something ceremonies of the horsemen. But the point is, there's this person living in the crazy estate that's asking the writer of the song, like, hey, why don't you come live with us, bro? It's great over here. And he keeps saying, you ask why I don't live here? Honey, I can't believe you have to ask me that. And the last line of the song is my favorite, delivered in maybe the most Bob Dylan style that Bob Dylan has ever delivered any line. And you ask why I don't live here? Honey, how come you don't move? I can't even do it justice. You'll have to listen to the song for yourself. Okay, so this album is kind of split into two halves, the electric half and the acoustic half. The next song, Bob Dylan's 115th Dream, is the last song on the electric half. And what an electric song it is. It's this long, wacky story about how Bob Dylan comes to America on a boat with Captain Arab, discovering it before Christopher Columbus, but there's already a whole society of people living there. Captain Arab and company get thrown in jail, Bob Dylan tries to get money to bail them out, and tons of crazy stuff happens in the process. I'm not going to go through the entire story beat by beat, but I will point out some of my favorite lines. The man says, get out of here, I'll tear you limb from limb. I said, you know, they refused Jesus too. And he says, well, you're not him. Such a good line. It sort of highlights the arrogance and foolishness of the narrator in the song, which is alluded to a few other times as well. Another part is where he walks into a building once again looking for money for Captain Arab, and all the boys back in the tank. But he discovers it's just a funeral parlor. I ran right through the front door like a hobo sailor does, but it was just a funeral parlor, and a man asked me who I was. I told him that my friends were all in jail. With a sigh, he gave me his card, said call me if they die. That's phenomenal stuff right there. But directly after that is the line that really ties the whole song together for me. I shook his hand, said goodbye, walked out to the street when a bowling ball came down the road and knocked me off my feet. Now let me explain. Whenever I hear this song, I always think of those really old Rubber Hose cartoons, like the black and white ones from way back in the day, where there's music playing the whole time and everyone sort of moves to the rhythm. I always think of this song as happening in sort of a Rubber Hose cartoon version of America, where the wackiness is just turned up to 11. And it's a really fun story and a really fun way to imagine things. We get another example of the narrator not being the most moral person when he decides, okay, I'm sick of spending so long trying to raise money for my friends. I'm gonna flip a coin that would tell me if I should go back to jail and just sit with them there, or go back to our ship and sail away without them. And then he says this, it came up tails, it rhymed with sales, so I made it back to the ship. And buddy, I hate to break this to you, but tails also rhymes with jails. And it's a much better rhyme at that. So obviously this guy just waited till the coin was flipped and then found a way to justify the outcome that he wanted to happen. And finally, right when he's about to sail away, he sees 3 ships approaching. I asked the captain what his name was and how come he didn't drive a truck. He said his name was Columbus, and I just said, good luck. That's a great way to end the song, with the narrator running into the actual Columbus and telling him, look, I'm not so sure you want to conquer this place, alright? Overall, a great energetic song to end the electric half of the album. Gold star. Okay, the next song is arguably one of the most famous Bob Dylan songs, and it's one of the most famous for a reason. Mr. Tambourine Man. Definitely a contender for the best song in this album. I could talk for a long time about everything I think about this song, but I'll try to keep it short for you guys. No, this song is not about drugs. It's about the desire to find some sort of ethereal agent who can just take you away from it all. The times when you wish you could forget everything you know and just go somewhere completely different. Somewhere cool and windy and truly free. Everything is so fucked up and ruined and you just want to go to that place far in the past, or maybe it's far in the future, where there's maybe just a small semblance of feeling alright. Or maybe there's just nothing at all. The composition and flow of this song is excellent. The way Bob Dylan just rambles and spits out beautiful line after beautiful line after beautiful line, relentlessly for 6 minutes, is really something to behold. And take me disappearing through the smoke rings of my mind to the foggy ruins of time, far past the frozen leaves, the haunted frightened trees, out to the windy beach, far past the twisted reach of crazy sorrow, to dance beneath the diamond sky with one hand waving free, silhouetted by the sea, circled by the circus sands, with all memory and fate driven deep beneath the waves. Let me forget about today until tomorrow. I don't know what else I can say about that. It quite literally can't get better than that. This song is the sun setting over the sad prairie. This song is a heart-shaped sticker on the back of a notebook at the bottom of a dumpster somewhere on the coast of Florida. This song is giving up and letting go and somehow finding the strength to do it all over again. Dancing back and forth forever. Gold star. Okay guys, I hate to say it, but the next song, Gates of Eden, is my least favorite song on the album. Because honestly, I just don't know what he's talking about in this song. Nothing in it really resonates with me emotionally, and it's not terrible. When you're listening to it, you can pick out the lines and be like, yeah, that's a well-written line, that's good poetry. But unlike, say, Mr. Tambourine Man or Love Minus Zero, it doesn't give me that deep feeling in my gut that I treasure so much. It just kind of goes by and then it's gone. Also, it's 6 minutes long. I think this one could have been left off the album. However, the quality picks right back up with our second to last song, It's Alright Ma, I'm Only Bleeding. Another thing which, curiously, he doesn't actually say in the song. It's almost 8 minutes of just Bob and his acoustic guitar just absolutely going off. They let him into the kitchen and he cooked up a 5-star gourmet meal, the type of meal that you still think about days after you've eaten it. This song is sort of the big brother of Subterranean Homesick Blues, talking about societal corruption and pointlessness, but it's much longer and darker and more complex and advanced. This isn't 20 years of school and then they put you on the day shift. This is darkness at the break of noon, shadows even the silver spoon, the handmade blade, the child's balloon eclipses both the sun and moon. To understand you know too soon, there is no sense in trying. This is serious stuff. But what I love about this song is after like 7 minutes of just going off on everybody, there's still some semblance of hope to be found. A hint of the divine in every line, a clue or two in the ocean blue. Especially the last line, which I quote all the time trying to motivate myself to do something risky. If my thought dreams could be seen, they'd probably put my head inside a guillotine. But it's alright ma, it's life and life only. It's life and life only. That's the simplest you can say it. That's all there is. It's life and it's only life. Why would you ever be afraid of doing something? It's only your life that's at stake. And I mean that completely unironically. Perfect song, perfect ending, gold star. Okay, this video is getting really long, so I'll keep it short talking about the last song, It's All Over Now, Baby Blue. I think this song is an amazing way to end the album because it's sort of talking about the ending of one thing, the beginning of another. And it's not really presenting this as a bad or a good thing. It's something that just sort of is. It's the cycle of life. It's the way of the universe. Something ends, another thing begins. It starts off and you think it's just like a breakup song, like, oh, you're leaving, take what you need, nothing's gonna last, it all falls apart, etc., etc. Like, oh, it's so sad, everything's gotta end all the time. But then as you get near the end of the song, it sort of shifts around to maybe even a potential good thing. The last line, strike another match, go start anew. It's all over now, baby blue. What even is it? Maybe it was some really bad thing that's it's all over now. You're free. You can finally go home. This song is just sort of a representation of the great and terrible power of the universe. The transient chaos of being a human. Nobody really knows if we can decide when certain things end and other things begin, but what Bob Dylan teaches us in this song is that we can accept the change with grace and look forever forward towards the sunset for a better future for yourself and for the universe. Thanks for watching.